Hey guys, Ray Hernandez here. Thanks for checking in. I've got a few messages on my initial video, which is a physical security fundamentals, and I was asked to do a bit of a breakdown so it could be broader. So in that video, if you go back and check that one, we go into security fundamentals. So the first and foremost is being aware of your surroundings. But we want to kind of break that down and describe what exactly does that mean, be aware of your surroundings. A lot of the people out there, you always throw out these phrases, situational awareness, watch your six or whatnot. But we kind of want to break down, what exactly are we looking for? For those of you guys that are just starting out in the industry or new to, the industry, or even seasoned veterans. And like I said, I'm big on sticking to the fundamentals and just always practicing and going over the fundamentals. So jumping right into it, being aware of your surroundings. What exactly do we mean by that? So being aware of your surroundings is watching who's around, watching what's going on, kind of creating a baseline of what's normal, what's not normal, especially for some of you guards that are working a certain post where, let's say you're there, 5 days a week, you kind of get to know what's normal, what's not normal, who's in the area, what time people get up to go to work or what time people come home, things of that nature. You kind of see the goings and comings of your area. So you kind of create a baseline of what's normal, what's not normal. So within that environment, you could kind of pick up on anomalies as far as someone that's not necessarily from the area or someone that's acting kind of strange. So some of the main things that I want to watch for is people's hands. What are their hands doing? Are they reaching for something? Do they have a knife or a weapon in their hand, a gun in their hand? You'd be surprised. Some people are literally walking down the street with a pistol in their hand and people don't realize that because they're not watching. Looking at what their expression is great, but like I said, hands is what's going to hurt you. Hands is when it's going to reach for weapons to try to hurt other people or hurt you. So that's one of my big ones, is watch for people's hands, see what they're doing. Obviously, in some of the main areas where we got waistband, front pockets, back pockets, if we see any weird bulges or any outlines that look like weapons, guns, obviously, knives, things of that nature, we want to be aware of those things. Obviously, if the person is possibly carrying, a weapon, we want to then see their behavior. What are they doing? Are they, hiding in the shadows? Are they walking a certain way? Are they keeping an eye on someone? Sometimes they may be so asphyxiated on their target, they may not realize that they're being watched by somebody else. And like I said, you got to look out for those things. So those are just a few examples of being aware of your surroundings. I'm going to add a few links at the bottom of the description because there's a few videos that came out recently with an armored truck guard that was robbed at gunpoint with 3 guys that came out. Obviously, I don't know all the facts of that situation, but we kind of, want to look at that and be like, well, what can we have done to have prevented that? So obviously, keep an eye on who's in the cars. Are people watching you? Are they kind of keeping an eye of the area? As I mentioned in one of my videos before, are you seeing any strange behavior as far as people getting on phones or getting on the text as soon as they see you walk by or they see police walk by? You want to make note of that. And these are some, like I said, a few of the examples of what we're keeping an eye for when we say be aware of your surroundings. Definitely, as I've mentioned before, don't be distracted on your phone. Don't be distracted doing paperwork where you're literally just on that phone or on that, tablet, whatever it is, whether it is that you're doing work, you always have to be aware of your surroundings. If you're doing that, try to do it in an office, or hopefully you're working with a partner where someone, is kind of keeping an eye of the area. The last thing you want is someone literally to come up behind you and, get the drop on you and, want to take your equipment, your gun, knife, gun, pepper spray, weapon, all that good stuff. Unfortunately, there are stories of that happening to guards out in the field. And like I said, if you stick to the basics, you stick to the fundamentals of just that first, big one, being aware of who's around you, who's watching, and like I said, behavior. Keep an eye on behavior, how people are acting. As far as someone necessarily appearing a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean that, they're a bad guy or they have bad intentions, but the behavior is what gives it away. It's a number of things. Obviously, if you're in a high crime area, if you're working in a gang neighborhood and you see someone, looks like a gang member, it's like, it doesn't mean they're a gang member, not necessarily, but the probability does go up. And like I said, that's just one factor. Behavior is another thing, but like I said, we'll go deeper into that later as far as other factors to look for to determine someone's behavior, whether or not, they're planning an attack or they're planning a crime or they're trying to, in a sense, do something malicious towards you, your client, or, or someone that you're working with. But we'll get more into that later. Like I said, other examples to look for. Vehicles. Have you seen the same vehicle just circling over and over, at certain times? Does it look like they're taking notes? Are they taking pictures, of certain areas, sensitive areas of view, things of that nature? These are things that we want to make note of as far as for prevention. We want to watch for those things. We want to and like I said, take proactive steps to prevent any situations or any occurrences from coming to our doorstep, so to speak. A few other examples that I could think of, doing foot patrols outside and you happen to hear, sirens from afar, helicopter, from afar kind of circling around. It's a pretty good indication that maybe there's a police emergency and they're looking for someone. So knowing that information kind of heighten your sense of awareness, because obviously if they're looking for someone, it's a pretty good possibility that they may break containment and come into your property. So whether you guys have CCTV systems, where you guys are working in teams or whatever it is, be aware of the area of, okay, it's not affecting our property, PD's about a mile, south of us or whatever the case may be, but we still want to kind of up our state of awareness just to see, is like, hey, do we see anybody weird walking around the street? Does it look like someone's trying to, open car doors or hide, inside a truck or whatever it is? Or are they trying to jump into our perimeter, into our fence line or whatnot? Like I said, these are just little examples of things to look for when you're being aware of your surroundings. Like I said, situational awareness and whatnot. So like I said, a quick overview of what we've talked about is, for me, is watch people's hands. What are they doing with their hands? Is there any bulges in their waistband? Are they carrying any large suitcases, heavy bags, things like that? Things that stand out to you, and make note of it. Don't just disregard it. And that's one thing that unfortunately I've seen some people do that are either not in the industry or they're just getting started in the industry because they think, it's nothing. It's just a bag. Like I said, we want to make note of those things and kind of have a little red flag and be like, pay more attention. Just because, they have something that's suspicious doesn't mean necessarily that they have bad intentions. But once you start adding all these little factors, like I said, that's what starts to build up. So I digress, going back to what I was saying. Watch people's hands, watch people's, physical demeanor, their behavior. What exactly are they doing, that possibly poses a threat or possibly looks like they're about to attack someone or about to commit a crime or whatever have you. So yeah, watch people's hands, watch people's behaviors, and watch people's actions. What are they doing that's out of the ordinary, out of that baseline? But like I said, we're going to go ahead and break down the initial security fundamentals, and this is going to be the first one. Any questions or comments that you have, go ahead and put them below or DM me directly. Other than that, guys, stay safe and thank you.